Oh, you're looking puzzled, Jenkins. You stuck on your geography homework? Yeah, what's the question? Ah, what's the capital of Uzbekistan? Well, that is Tashkent. Yes, I know. Don't let it be said Mr. Tweed doesn't know his onions. Morning, onions. Morning, Bert, Bill, Rupert, George, Alfred, Pew, Hugh, Barney, McGrew, Cuthbert, Dibble, Grubb, Bill, Ben. Oh, I don't know who you are. Okay, you join us at home for needlecraft and home economics. Today needlecraft, and maybe next Wednesday we'll do making sausage rolls in the workshop. So, got the saddle cover here, which I showed in the last video, and the problem we've got is here, it's come adrift here, but actually looking at it, I think it's just the stitching that's gone. So I think we can clean that old stitching out, use those existing holes and stitch it back up again. So let's see if we can clean those out, just pull the threads out. Now it's pretty filthy and we're working on Mrs. Tweed's dining room table. Luckily she's out at the moment, so hopefully she won't find out. Anyway, so we need to get into there from the back. And then this is this horsehair thing. I'm giving it a good hoovering and a bashing out, so got the worst of it out, and about 80 years of dust. These parts here are actually stitched together, so the saddle sort of holds its shape like that, and it doesn't tucker up or pucker up, you know, when you fold it over, because there'll be excess material there. So I was going to cover it with this dust sheet stuff I said I had, but I was thinking this was quite thick. But it's really thin, and it's only really the polythene on the back of it that's holding it together. So we won't use that. We'll keep that as a dust sheet. So that's that. So we've got the good old-fashioned hessian. It's upholstery hessian. Use it when doing chairs and things like that. So I'll make a pattern, cut a piece out to lay on the top here. Probably stitch a hem on it. You know, fold it over, stitch hem on it all the way around, just to make it a bit sturdier, and we'll sort of glue and sort of stitch through in places just to sort of hold it in place. Once it's on the springs and all battened down with these clips, it's not going to go far. So yeah, see if we can cut a pattern on this first. See what I mean? Dusty. Okay, lay it like that on there. Got a Sharpie, lay the saddle on like that, and then just sort of draw around it and allow a bit more on the sides to do the hem. That's the technical term in needlecraft. Where's my Sharpie gone? Ah, there it is. Right. There we go, like that. I think that'll do it. We can do other marks on it later where we need to sort of fold it over, but that'll do. And that should do. Should sort of fit in there. Lay it on, and I'll draw a pattern on it later to work out where I need to sort of fold it, stitch it, ready to go on. Let's sort this stitching out. So I've got sort of upholstery thread there, quite tough old stuff, a bit of beeswax to make it go a bit easier, a few needles to play around with. Probably need to use those ones because I don't think we'll thread the thread through those smaller ones. But what I need to do is cut this threading here to get into it. Glasses off for close work. Right, we managed to sort of find it, so I just folded that piece of material back. It was cut like the stuffing as well, so we can see there, if I run the hoover in there, and I think I can get in down about that edge and restart the thread, try and pick up on the original holes if I can. Okay, right, we need a bit of thread, and I think the old rule is about 2/3 more than the length of your repair. You don't want too much because you've got to drag it through and it will keep getting in the way. So yeah, that should do. And then we'll just run it through the old beeswax. Just to make it a bit more malleable. 2 of the smallest needles possible, basically because of elbow room. Then they go through the holes. Let's have a look. Yeah, well, they'll fit, and they're quite blunt as well, so when I won't stab it in my fingers.
Now stand aside, worthy adversary.
'Tis but a scratch.
A scratch? Your arm's off.
No, it isn't.
Well, what's that then?
I've heard worse.
And 2, it'll find the hole rather than poke a new hole through the material. Let's try that. Okay, we're going to go normal old school, in and out. So tie a knot on the end, make a bigger knot so it doesn't pull through, and then a bigger knot just to make doubly sure. Now I'm going to run a stitch around there to lock that in. Let's give it a go. And once we've got this one done, I can go through there because it'll just make another bit of a knot. Make sure we don't lose. Okay, and tighten that down. There we go, first knot, right. There it is. And again on the outside here. There we go. Right, now we're cooking. Again, flip it over. There, gotcha. And just keep doing that till we get up the top. There we go. Right, we'll keep going. We'll come back later. Right, we managed to do it. So just done a few over stitches back in and round a few times to sort of create a knot. And it's not done too bad. Bit of stitching there is visible, but up here the material was sort of disappearing. I didn't have much to stitch to there. So what I'm going to do, as most of it is sort of stitched, kind of position it like that, and then on the back of it give it a good smear of tiger seal all over it, and that'll bond that top end together quite nicely. So for those that doubt the power of tiger seal, I repaired the hoover with it. The top of the filter got smashed. There's a little titty there, so you can sort of pull it out. So just tiger sealed a nut to the top of the bottom of a drinks can, and that filled the hole that had got smashed in the top. Works perfectly. Right, so that's that bit done. We'll get a smear of tiger seal on there, have a bit of a hoover up. Yeah, it's filthy dirty. Yeah, but I think that looks good. Okay, I've got my bit of hessian here, and I've stuck it on the repaired seat and worked out what size I need it, and then it's got a sort of hem and fold up all the way around just to sort of stop the hessian separating. So we're just going to stick that on with contact adhesive if it still works, and we're not doing it on the dining room table because yeah, Mrs. Tweed won't be too happy. So let's give this a go and see how we get on. I think what we'll do is cut that corner off because we'll have a double fold on the corners so we don't want it building up. Okay. Oh, still works. Blimey. Apparently you can turn the nozzle. Oh, you can and all. There we go. Right, see how we get on. I'm going to get glue everywhere. I can see this coming. Right, do it one piece at a time. Of course, doing it near the dog bed as well, so it'll get hair on it. Okay, and do that bit as well, so they're not too complicated. Okay, it's quite warm out here, so I should dry quite quick. So roughly, it's about the line there. Oh yeah, goes together quite nicely. Sticky already. There we go. I thought we'd have to put a stitch in there, but I don't think we need to really. Okay, we might need to cut some, what are they called, pleats or something in here. See how we go. Because it's on a curve. And come close to the camera, it's getting very sticky everywhere. There I don't know, I think it's enough giving the material to squash down. Yeah, that's all right. There we go. Just like bodywork, just work it in there. Okay. All I do is we'll put a bit of pleat in there and in there, like so. There we go. Just tidied it up a bit. Got furry hands, like Bungle off a rainbow.
Geoffrey, shall we quickly have a story while Zippy's away?
that's well and truly stuck. I don't think we need. I was going to run a sort of stitched hem all the way around to keep it together, but I think that'll be fine. We will put some stitches through all here into the old insulation layer. I think it's what they call in the stitching world a basting stitch. So yeah, right. Just going to get the cover, and here's the finished repair on that stitch in there. So yeah, a little bit of Tiger Seal squidged in at the top to repair that material that was missing, and then just a sort of general application on the inside there across the whole lot, just to sort of keep it together. I think it's turned out okie dokes. Right, so hopefully that goes down, and there is a shape to this now. See, it does actually have a shape to it. I need to move these out of the way, I wasn't going to get glue all over them. I think we'll just put a bit of glue in there, just to push that down there, like that. Right, let's give this a coating. Okay, and then give this a good coating. Let that dry, and then roughly fold it in the middle when I lift it up, and then set that in the middle of the seat. Right, I think we're getting there. Okay. So roughly in the middle. There we go. Not too bad. Yeah, missed a little bit there, but this sort of frame sits over all this, and the frame sides sit against here. So once these are done up, they'll help keep this in place as well. But yeah, I think that'll do. And it'll stop a shower of horsehair all over the bike until the hessian breaks down and we have a shower of hessian. But that'll be a few years away yet. So we're getting ready to reassemble the front fork clamps. As you can see, they're nice and shiny. Yeah, that was a can of worms I really shouldn't have opened. On the top of the headstock, there was loads of sort of moisture bubbles under the paint, you know, like little blisters all over. And it was a bit unsightly. So I thought, oh, I know what I'll do, chuck some paint stripper on there, get it all off, give them a repaint. Yeah, what I didn't bargain on was these brass castings, although they look very nice now under paint, had a lot of filler in them, a lot of casting filler to make them nice and, you know, flowy and no wobbly edges or anything like that. So it took days of skimming with filler, sanding down, knifing putty, building up, paint sinking, rubbing down, painting, sinking, not happy with it, rubbing down. You know, you get the idea. It took a while, but now they're sort of, yeah, still not happy with them, but they look better than they did, so they're ready to go back on. Yeah, we've got the old cup and ball bearings to go back on. Now, I said before I was a little bit concerned that these bump stops were missing, or just catching the bottom of the bump stops on the frame, and there was something sort of amiss. But what I found was, I don't think this, in the bottom of the frame, the lower bearing was in properly. I think it wasn't all the way in, it was quite a way out. So what I done was, when I knocked it out to clean it up, I ran this corner, run it round on the bench grinder and made a bigger beveled edge on this to make sure that it went all the way to the bottom of the machining in the headstock, and you know, not jamming on a sharp corner down the bottom, or a radius corner down the bottom, sort of stopping it from going all the way down. So yeah, knock that edge off a bit more on the top one and tapped it in, and it went all the way home. And then popping this on as a trial, yeah, these go up further than they did before. I think anyway, but I didn't have the ball bearings on. Oh no, I did. I've sort of put 4 or 5 on and just sort of had a guess at it. It looked better anyway. So going to put these on, going to put these bearings on. Need to find some grease, because otherwise they'll go all over the place. Now, the bearings, ball bearings, looked okay until you look at them in greater detail under here. Let's get you in close. But as you can see, one, my fingernails need cleaning, and 2, you can see the scoring on the balls. So yeah, although they look nice and shiny, they got sort of scratch marks in them and stuff like that. But if you remember back to, I don't know, I think it might have been the Excelsior, when I was doing the headstock on that and the wheel bearings, I suggested buying, if you're buying some bearings, buy them in the sort of biggest pack you can afford, because they'll always come in handy. So yeah, there's not 500 in there anymore. We've used a few of those. And these are the quarter ball bearings, and I bought a pack of 100. And yeah, so I've got enough to do the headstock on the Scott. I know some have fallen out, so I'll pick them out and we'll use them. So, need to load up the grease gun and head to the Chapitarium to put the headstock back on. So, I'm going to load this grease gun up. Now, I don't know about you, but I've always undone them and sat there for ages with a knife and a grease pot, spatulaing grease in the end of them. Yeah, and always found them quite annoying. Now, I'd sort of seen these before, and I always thought, I mean, I bought a few that were going cheap, sort of out-of-date grease, but grease in a tube. And I thought they were sort of for posh grease guns, but they should fit in here, make life a lot easier. So, shall we give it a go? Let me clean this up a bit first. God, that was a thankless task. Anyway, cleaned it up a bit and discovered made in Germany. Presshole. There we go. We've also discovered there was an old cartridge in it originally. See? Pop that out. Grab that with that. Eek. I don't know how much grease is in it. I don't think there's a lot of grease in there. I think that should come out of there. There we go. It's just a bit stuck. Came out. Threw grease all over the workshop. Did I tell you a lot? Didn't like grease guns. Bloody things. I thought this would make it easier. Didn't have this much trouble just spooning it in with a knife. Mind you, did get a lot of airlocks. Ah, bloody invention of the devil. Ah, there we go. Only took a vice to hold it and get it to lock off. Right, so supposedly what we do, pull this off here, round that way, throw more grease over the workshop. I bloody hate grease guns. Oh, take the end cap off. Yeah, throw more grease over the workshop. No need. Keep that bit, that'll be handy for dobbing on bearings. Now, give it a little wiggle, and then drop that in there that way round. Pop that on. Screw it up. There we go. Right, release the trigger. God, bloody hell. These were tools when men were men. Bloody hell. There we go. Then push that through, and then hopefully the plunger's left behind. So when we go like this, oh, grease comes out the end. And where'd that go? Fell on the floor. Ugh, I bet the dog will run through this. But there we go. Oh, make sure we ain't got any. Nope, no air in there. And out comes the lovely fresh grease. There you go. That's a lot simpler than spooning it in with a knife eventually. Yeah, I hate grease guns. So the cleaning went well on the Outrigger assembly. Yes, that's the housing, all nicely cleaned. Sprocket come up well, and the bearing, which we were concerned about, yeah, that came out really well. So come up nice and clean, and yeah, runs really nice. So we'll use that again. Yeah, and all the gear change mechanism, that's all cleaned. Needs a little bit of grease poking out in some of the corners. That's all good. New springs have been ordered. Managed to get these from the Scott Owners Club. The sprocket originally didn't look too bad, but when you actually look at it, I don't know if you can see, yeah, the teeth are sort of facing backwards a little bit. There's a bit of wear on them. Yeah, I don't think you can easily get these. I think what you have to do is machine them off and put another sort of 19 tooth sprocket on. If anybody knows any different, let me know, or if they have one lying around. Yeah, a bit worn, but it will do us for now. Another thing I found in the box of bits was these bolts, and originally they were just, well, one was round and one had a flat on like this, the other was round. They just hadn't been finished off. Yeah, so nicely machined nut and bolt there. But these are sort of captive bolts. There's a shoulder on the engine casing on the back of it, like a little shelf that this flat sits on, so that you know, you can just tighten them up from the front without having to get a span around the back to try and do them up once the chain's on. Yeah, I didn't know what they were. Sort of showed them on the Scott Facebook page, and people soon told me what they were, and the washers I had weren't really up to the job. So turned some new washers up. Had to file the slots because somebody had used the incorrect bolts and two smaller washers, and you can see there where it's sort of a bit crimped up, but it had squashed into the slot, and it was stopping the bolt from happily sliding along. So you need this to slide backwards and forwards for when you adjust the gearbox, you know, against the primary chain, sort of adjust the slack on the primary chain. You move the gearbox and this moves with it, and then you tighten this up at the end of the adjustment. So yeah, turn some decent washers up for it. So that'll secure it quite nicely. Had to do some work on the casing as well, because they'd also damaged that. I'll show you that in a minute. Changed the brake nipple to, because it was an extended one. As I said, I think originally it had, or the bike it came off had an aluminium, I've seen them with an aluminium sheet with a hole through and the extended grease nipple coming through. There is a housing for this that goes over the top of this, so you don't need an extended grease nipple. So yeah, just got some new grease nipples ordered. Oh yeah, there they are. Yeah, just got a pack of them, so go around the bike and fit them where needed. So yeah, that's all ready to go back on, all nice and clean. Put the new bearing in, put that back on the bike, but I need to sort of do some work on the clutch first before I can reassemble this. So I'll show you what needs doing in a memento. Before I can fit the Outrigger bearing back onto the bike, there's a couple of issues I need to address One is this stud here that's sticking out proud and stopping it from bolting flush against the side of the engine casing here. I think this is part of the clutch thrust mechanism. When you pull the clutch lever, there's a scroll behind and a ring, and I think these sit on the ring and then push something, either the outer edge or the inner edge, up to slip the clutch. So I think it might just be a case of, you know, this has not been done all the way up, but I need to take the clutch plates out, just check that they haven't rusted together where it's been standing for so many years. Yeah, so it'd be worth dropping all this out, checking it out. One thing I need to check is they go on in the handbook is there's a load of rollers behind that the clutch sits on that have a habit of dropping out. Warns you quite loudly in the book, you know, to sort of avoid taking it all out so they fall down and you have to sort of put them back in again. But I don't think it'll be much of an issue. Nothing a dob of grease won't sort out. So I need to strip this down, undo these nuts on the springs, and I think it'll sort of start coming apart. Another issue I had, the bolts, as I showed you, are captive for securing the outrigger bearing on this part of the casting. And the way they work is there's a ledge behind. You can just see the edge of the ledge there, and there's one this side. And somebody had fitted a couple of standard bolts behind here and done them up so tight it had mashed up the back of the ledge, sort of squashed it all over, so that shouldered bolts, captive bolts, wouldn't rest flat. They were sort of being twisted over like this. So I needed to sort of file that damage out. It was quite tricky, but I managed to find this file here. It's a flat file with a sort of flat handle, and see if I can do it one-handed. I managed to sort of drop it over and gradually rest it like that on the ledge, and then, you know, move it backwards and forwards and file away until I'd got all the burrs off and got it back to how it should be. I'll see if I can show you from behind. Yeah, you can see here there's a ledge here that it sits on, and then the other bolt sits on that ledge down there. So I've managed to clean those up. And then this is the clutch actuating mechanism here. Cable goes on there. Yeah, it's very tricky to get into. It goes on there, you see. Pulls that. A bit like the, I think a bit like the Bantam. There's a scroll in there somewhere that moves a ring in and out, and I think that presses on those. I think that pushes on those three studs to activate the clutch, and then of course you can balance them out by adjusting them. That's what I think anyway. Unfortunately, the manuals that I got, they're all pre-war ones, and they mention these nuts here and the springs, but they don't mention these studs here and how to adjust them, so I'll have to work that out. So we've got the seat back off. It was just a trial fit just to make sure everything fitted okay, which it did. So yeah, I've taken these securing bolts off and turned them down. I think one was about 4 threads too long. So turned them both down and sort of rounded them off to make them look a lot nicer when they're done up on the bike. So that's those. Needed some nuts to secure the springs to the bottom frame. Spring goes on like that, and then the nut goes in there and secures it to the bottom frame, and then at the top you have a bolt go through the hole in the frame here, and a spring goes underneath, and then a nut goes in there to do that up. So I've done two shouldered nuts that sort of sit in there quite nicely, and then just 2 plain nuts. I'm not sure which ones are going to fit at the bottom, which ones at the top. These probably at the top, these ones at the bottom. And they fit quite nicely, but they were 26 thread per inch, 5/16, so they weren't BSF, they are recycled thread. And fortunately I had bought a set of taps and die for something else, can't remember what, but anyway, it come to the rescue, saved me ordering a new one. So I managed to turn the nuts up, and I'm going to turn two bolts up to replace the ones that I've lost out of here, but we do have a little issue. Bolt goes in this side okay because the hole's fairly away from the frame, upper frame, but this one, the upper frame sort of crosses the hole and it's a bit of a tight squeeze getting in there. So we might have to get a, this is quite springy steel, so we'll have to get a bar in there and lever it, drop the bolt in, and that'll be ready to go. Once that's all done, we can put the repaired seat cover back on. So it's just a case of laying it over the upper frame, dropping it in like that. It's very basic how they're fitted. These steel fingers, you just literally bend them around the frame and tuck them up out the way. You know, just get a bit of tension on them and then fold them over. These back ones need to go on first. They need to be tucked in here and round the springs. So I think you do the front, drop it on that way first, do those and then drop it in and finish off by doing the side ones. Very basic, but you know, it does the job. Once you've got your 12.5 stone sat on top, it's not going to go anywhere. So yeah, so I just need to get on and sort these bolts out and then we can get it assembled and back on the bike. Right, I managed to get that bolt in. Took a bit of levering and a little bit of filing the hole down at a slight angle and a bit of beating with a bit of brass rod, but we've popped it in there. So it'll be a mystery for whoever takes it apart again how to get that bolt out of there. So let's put this cover back on. Let's get that in there. Then twist that one round there like that. Going to go that side. Past the spring. And these two. Try and get a nice sort of crisp fold over the frame so it's nice and secure. Okay, they're right there, passed and round. Just need to push them down. There we go. So that's the back ones tucked in quite nicely. Okay, and that's just a case of getting these folded over around each side. Try and stretch the material around a bit. There we go, that's that side. That one round, then up that one round. There we go. There we go. We sort of marked where the bend was, pre-curled the ends over, bent these at 90 and then sort of folded them in and round, and then with various tools pulled them back tight onto the metal frame. There we go. Right, let's get it assembled. Okay, got all our bolts in, ready to go. Right, I'll do with the nuts. There they are. Now these are a bit of a fiddle because, yeah, that happens. Talk amongst yourselves. And yeah, super fine thread as well. So just to make it really tricky. Right, just get the other one on whilst we're here. Stick a dab of grease on it, I can hear you shout. Use a magnet. Yeah, stainless steel. Bit of an issue. What do they say? Never work with children and animals and loose nuts on TV. I think that was it. Gotcha. Gotcha. Let's get in there. So before we do it up too tight, we'll pop the front mounting bolt on. We need a podger, or whatever they call them. There we go. Let's a bit easier, isn't it? Oh, look at that. Why did we do that in the first place? And a tappy stick as well, just to show it who's boss. Let that be a lesson to you. Okay, that's that one. So there we go, there's the assembled seat with its repair. Waiting to go back on. Springs cleaned up, frame resprayed. Looking pretty good. But we won't put it back on yet because the light's not very good where the bike is at the moment, and this will just shield the clutch, which is the next area I want to work on, from the light. So we'll leave it off for now. There we go. So there you go, progress on the Scott. Somewhere comfy to sit when we finally get it running. Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, mission creep, we're now in the clutch and gearbox, but you know, it's good to check these things out so you don't have any sort of nasty surprises when I finally get it running. Being positive, of course we're going to get it running, Mr. Tweed, and it's going to be lovely, it's going to be really good, and we're going to enjoy it. So yeah, hope you liked the video. If you did, give us a little like and hit subscribe, and yeah, pop along again, see what's happening. All right, cheerio. What's that, Jenkins? Where's Tipperary? Yeah, it's a long, long way. We're diving into riding it. Progress on the scrotum. Where's Timbuktu? Oh, it's a long way. No.